Thank you, Zelda from Zoom, letting everybody know. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Our agenda today, we will start out with success stories. We'll then move on to our 30-second introductions. We'll have everybody put their information in the chat box. Then we'll go to our committee reports. We'll hear about workshops, job fairs, pit crew, the practice interview, the interview success workshop, the career tip of the week, the lunch report, and then we will have our speaker around the top of the hour right now. So for everybody, if you can, please make sure that your full name, there's somebody named Joanne who's on right now, and I don't see your last name. If you will, be sure to click on the participant box and then hover over the camera microphone and allow yourself to rename yourself so that we can, I can capture your full name. It's just good Zoom practice. And then when you rename yourself, be sure to click on that little box underneath which says remember my name for future meetings. For those on Zoom throughout the presentation, please just enter your information to the chat box. For those watching on Facebook right now, please just enter your questions into the comment field, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered as our speaker takes a break later during this program. Please note this event is currently live and being recorded on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, and if you post a comment in the chat box or have your microphone or camera on, you give consent for your comment's name and picture to appear. Please note that all your personal information that you put in the chat box will not be recorded, will not be on Facebook, and will not be on the Career USA YouTube channel. It's just that if you happen to ask a question and we repeat that question, those are the kinds of things that would be copied over. So don't, the chat box is only for those of us who are participating. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. Since 2007, I've been facilitating and leading the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. The group's been around since the late 1990s. I took it over in 2007 when the prior leader of the group had gotten a job and said who wanted to take over, and for somehow I volunteered. I don't remember how, and so I've been doing this ever since. In 2008, I saw a need for something called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area by trying to put all the information somebody needed in their job search in one place. In 2012, I started a second website called careerusa.org to help people outside the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon, or if you want to drive by the house, I'll be glad to sell you a copy if you want to drive by. Since 2007, I've been a member of the practice interview team. You'll hear more about that in just a second. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news. Let's see here. I don't know if Raul, are you on the call with us this morning? Yeah, you are. Go ahead. Please tell us your good news. Well, we can't hear you, Raul. You're talking, but we see your mouth moving, but we can't hear you. Nope, still can't hear you.
How about now?
There we go. Bingo.
Okay, I landed in a Suran company as a senior disaster recovery engineer, and was one of the company, like I said, or Mark always says, you need to get a contact inside. Any sponsor that you can get will be giving to you the opportunity to jump the line and get your interview. After that, the best practices, the pit crew, thank you, the pit crew. Thank you, Walt, and thank you, Jeff, because it was a journey from the last December until now, and I'm really glad that I landed.
Well, great, Raul. So tell me, how long from the time you saw the position till the time you signed the deal?
Approximately 1 month.
About a month. What was the interview process like?
The interview was a pre-screening, I sent my resume. I had the pre-screening with the recruiter, and after that, I have a first meeting with the manager. The manager wasn't sure what he was looking for and what he can find in the market. And I say, okay, I can provide all of this. Suppose in my case, I'm not really hands-on guy, I will not be able to create a new database or do really technical stuff. And I put in really clear that, and I showed them that I have another abilities that are more people related, and they like that approach. I have a second round or third round of interview with the teams, and the team was happy, and I'm on board. Was really simple. It was long, just long.
Yeah, congratulations. I think, you know, that they hired somebody because of your abilities, and they really weren't sure what they wanted to hire. So that's great that you were able to sell yourself. So congratulations very much. So Raul makes number 63 from this group. Congratulations. Is Linda on the call with us this morning? I don't know if Linda's on or not. Let's see here. I don't see her. Linda says she's accepted a role as Director of Supply Chain Operations for the Bright Star Global Group. They are moving their headquarters from the Atlanta area to Southlake in 2022. Not all the leaders are relocating, but I'm one of the first new hires in Texas. I will start on June 28th and will be remote until the Southlake offices are ready. Thank you for your assistance and encouragement. The DFW Career DFW page and group was very instrumental, especially the resume and LinkedIn support. So Linda makes number the 64th landing that I know about from this group. So we're well ahead of last year's pace, or even the prior to couple years pace. So I would recommend that if you're looking for a company who's moving here, I've never heard of Bright Star Global. You may want to check them out and see what other positions may have from people who don't want to move out of Atlanta and come to Dallas. So that may be an opportunity for you. Do we have anybody else? Any other landings with success stories people want to share? Yes, Mark.
Yes, I do have someone. Teresa Richardson Wilkerson landed at Toyota as a talent development senior analyst, and she practiced with the pit crew back in April. So that was the first round. There were 4 total interviews, and they offered her the job last week. So congratulations to Teresa.
Great. If you'll put her contact or put just her information in the chat box, it'd be appreciated. Do we have anybody else? Going once, going twice? Oh, I can't wait to get back together when we can all share donuts. That'll be so great. Yeah. Okay. All right. It's time now. If everybody will please, for those who haven't done so yet, please open up the chat box. Please enter your 30-second introductions. What we'd like you to put in is your name, a comma, phone number, comma, email address, comma, position you're looking for, comma, a couple target companies, and then hit the return key. That way all your information will be together. And that way I will get that out to everybody this afternoon, along with a copy of the PowerPoint presentation that we're going to see today and any other pertinent information we need to share. And spend some time, hopefully this weekend, looking over that email and see who you can help. Who do you know at one of those companies you can help them try to network your way in, like you heard Raul found an inside contact. So 30 seconds on the clock. It's sort of interesting. When we used to have the 60-second version of that music, I got tagged once on YouTube for copyright infringement, and so I had to delete it out. But I've never been tagged for this 30-second version. So just an interesting little side note of, I guess, what they catch and what they don't catch. All right, it's time for job and career fairs, training workshops that are coming up. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff, and good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. As Jeff said, my responsibility here today is to provide you with information about career and job fairs and special workshops or events. And the information that I'm about to discuss comes from the calendar tab on the webpage careerdfw.org. I go through these items fairly quickly, so if you hear something that piques your interest, I urge you to go to the calendar, click on the tab, find the item you're looking for, click on that, and there's usually a lot more information than I'm able to provide in the short time that I have. All right, having said that, this week's career and job fairs, I guess Father's Day has prompted a hiatus from those. We have one event this week, the United Electronic Recycling event. Will be held at St. Andrew's United Methodist Church at 5801 West Plano Parkway on Saturday, June 19th from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. And they'll handle your disposal of various things like printers, CRTs, monitors, televisions, computers, etc. All right, this week's special workshops or events. Online Networking Mondays. Join Career DFW and careerusa.org each Monday from 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. for Networking Mondays. That's again 1 p.m. to 2:15 p.m. There is a Zoom link on the calendar and a Facebook link as well. Urge you to attend that event. LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Also online. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, or Kurt Vondemutter each week for an online session on LinkedIn. There's a Zoom link and a Facebook link for that. Participate. The Who You Know Career Transition Summit will be held also online Wednesday, June 23rd from 10 a.m. to noon. This event is hosted by Foster Williams. And if you don't know Foster Williams, I urge you to get to know him. He's a very well-known recruiter in our area and a great guy. Interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m. This is a 13-part workshop put on by our own Mark McDonald, who's the leader of the pit crew, and Walt Glass, who runs our interview success workshop. This week, 6/23 from 1 to 2:30 p.m. is session 8. Asking questions in the interview. Having a conversation is much more effective than submitting to an interrogation. The middle of the interview is a conversation created by you and how to influence the course of the conversation by asking questions. And I urge you, if you haven't participated in this event, I urge you to attend. It's a great workshop. There's a Zoom link and a Facebook link for that one. And finally, Resume Thursdays, online sessions, Effective Resumes with Carol Brickell, a certified professional career coach, will be held Thursday, June 24th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. And again, a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate. And that's it for this week.
Eldon, thank you very, very much. If you happen to know somebody who just lost their job or somebody who's in job search transition, please tell them about Career DFW and careerusa.org. Both websites are totally free, right on the front page. If you know somebody who just lost their job, have them click right where you see those blue arrows, and there'll be a great one-page article that'll pop up that'll take them to other links and some spreadsheets and some worksheets and a checklist on what to do when they've lost their job. It's time to hear from the practice interview team. Good morning, Mark.
All right. Well, good morning, everybody. And I want to give some encouragement to people who, are looking for big jobs. So if you're a director or above, Teresa recently landed, and I think in general, I'm seeing more requests for interviews for higher level positions. So I think those kinds of positions are starting to be filled again. And so there's hope for you guys who've been in search for a while. And come and practice. We can give you a practice interview for C-level. We've done CEOs before. That's not a daunting thing. Several of the PIC crew members have been high level in their organizations as well. So come and practice. Even though you've been a hiring manager and hired lots of people, being on the other side of the desk is a different experience. So the way the PIC crew works is we offer a panel interview. It's done on Zoom technology, so it's recorded on the Zoom platform, and it's very personalized and customized to your situation. So that means you provide a resume and the job description that you would like to be interviewed against. And so it's very targeted, specific. The interviewers study up in advance. We kind of pride ourselves on asking questions that are that cut to the heart of the matter and give you a chance to answer them. And so it takes about 45 minutes for the interview, and the whole session takes about an hour and 15 minutes. So when you're ready to practice, send that information to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. That'd be your resume and your job description, and also when you're available to practice 2 business days and 3 business days ahead of whenever you send it in. So if you send it in today, the first choice would be a Tuesday practice interview, and then the backup would be a Wednesday practice interview. So I'd need to know your availability on those days. So that's the way the Dallas Pit Crew works. It's 100% free, no charge at all. The volunteers have all been hiring managers, and all of them have also been through career transition sometime in their career. For me, it was 3 times. I was laid off 3 times, and the last time never found my way back. I actually took a bridge job for a couple of years, and then now I'm retired. I retired in May of 2018. So I encourage you to also link in with me, but to do that, you need to include a note with your connection request that says we met on the North Dallas Career Focus Group. So I know I have a place where we encountered each other, and you're not just trying to spam me. And then I'll add you to my network, and that'll help you with contacts inside your target companies. What else we got there, Jeff? One-way interview. So what I just described was a 2-way interview where you're actually talking to people and they're asking you questions. And but there's a new thing now, relatively new, I guess. It's a 2020 thing. One-way practice interviews. And so the Pit Crew is able to offer you a chance to practice a one-way interview. And I have to tell you, they're very different. Even, talking to the camera was kind of a strange thing. I've gotten used to it now, but there's other people on the other side. I mean, I can see you guys, I can see your reactions and things like that. But when you have a one-way interview, there is nobody on the other side. It's just a recording. And so you need to practice it because it'll throw you off. It'll definitely throw you off if you're not prepared for it. So the way the Pit Crew works, this is I give you the questions in advance. I set you up on the tool that's been donated to Jeff and made available to the Pit Crew from Easy Hire. So this is a professional level tool that companies pay big bucks for, but they've donated it to us. And so you'll get a chance to interact with this tool and record your answers to those 4 questions that I gave you in advance. And once you request it, just send a request to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. It's pretty much hands off for me. Nobody's going to see the video that you recorded. The recording will be done. I'll have your email and you'll be sent a link to take a look at your recording, and nobody else will be involved unless you want them to be, and you can share that link if you choose to, but otherwise it's completely confidential. So yeah, Interview Wednesday. So Eldon just told you about what's coming up on June 23rd, Asking Questions, another great session, and it's very important that you turn your interview from an interrogation into a conversation, because if you just answer the questions that are asked, that's interrogation mode. And sometimes just answering the questions is not what the interviewer is looking for. They're looking for more engagement. So we're going to start a series of about 3 here. Asking Questions is next week, and then on the 30th is Demonstrating Enthusiasm during the interview, and then on the 7th of July will be Building Rapport. So 3 sessions in a row about how to influence the course of the interview and make a connection with the interviewer, and therefore increase your chance of being selected as the top candidate.
Mark, thank you very, very much. Good morning, Walt.
Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to Friday. I also have some access to help you with job interviews. I do it a little bit differently than the Pit Crew, which I hardly recommend that you take advantage. But I do what I call the fundamentals of interviewing. How do we differentiate ourselves from other candidates? How do we sell ourselves? It's a free workshop. You have to be registered to attend. It's very informal. I basically tell you the things that you can prepare ahead of interviews, the generic stuff that you can prepare to get ready for almost any interview, so that you can then tailor it to a particular interview. all I need really is a job description of your target. I don't need a live one that you're currently pursuing, just something that's an example of that in your resume, similar to what Jeff requires. And what we'll do is cover these 11 basic categories of questions and talk about our options, strategies, structures, different ways that we can pay attention to a question. All questions depend on why they're asking. What's the motive behind it? So we can discuss that for those categories. We'll talk about ways we might want to answer a question because it depends on who's asking, what the question is, and where you are in the process. Answers can be different depending on those three factors. So look me up on LinkedIn in the About section, gives you information about it, gives my Yahoo email address, which I reserve for the workshop. I'll give you some availability dates. I do it on Tuesdays on Zoom from 10 to 12. Only have a couple people at a time. If there's demand for more, I will arrange something in addition to that, just to get people through the process quickly. So let me know if you'd like to join us. I call it, no hot seat here, no sweating, no fear, no anxiety. We can learn, we can do our learning without squirming. Well, corny poem number, I'm not sure what number it is. I enjoy giving reviews about how we win job interviews. I suggest take a workshop turn, showing how we practice and learn to win the job and chase away boo-hoos.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right, it's time to hear the career tip of the week. Good morning, Kelly.
Good morning, Jeff. How's the audio this morning? Can you hear me?
Sounds great.
All right, let's get started. Good morning, everyone. The tip of the week is entitled, "This is the best time of day to submit a job application." Time your job application so it's at the top of a hiring manager's inbox. The author of the article is Monica Torres. If you're frustrated how much of a job search is outside of your control, you can write a great resume, feel you're perfect for the role, and still hear nothing back from a hiring manager. But one thing that is in your control as a job seeker is timing when to send a job application. And this small action can help make a big difference. The best time is early morning or late at night. A 2017 TalentWorks analysis tracked 1,610 job applications from a variety of industries and with a wide range of experience levels, and found that submitting after 10 a.m. in an employer's time zone significantly increased the likelihood that a person would hear back and land an interview. Sending a job application between 6 and 10 a.m. increased the odds of landing an interview by 13%. The time of day that had the lowest odds, the survey found that 7:30 p.m., right when many workdays end, was when a candidate had less than a 3% chance of hearing back from an employer. Ashley Watkins, a job search strategist with corporate recruiting experience, agreed that mornings were the best time. The early bird gets the worm, she said. I've checked applications at all times of the day, but typically the initial check of my applications was first thing in the morning. Late at night could also work if it helped your submission to be the first one seen in the morning. During her job hunt, Zimmer said that she noticed her response rates increased when she started submitting applications late in the evening. It's now a practice she recommends as a working recruiter herself. My day begins with admin time, meaning I spend anywhere between 30 to 60 minutes assessing resumes and inviting candidates to interview, Zimmer said. Submitting applications at night or early morning yields greater visibility. Consider these timing-related factors. Submitting first thing in the morning is probably not going to help if you are applying a month after the job first posted. If a recruiter gets a good enough candidate pool, they may not go back and look at everyone who comes in after, Watkins said. Applying as soon as the job is posted is a good way to go. When you see a job listing go live, start crafting your response. Create the habit of applying when a job is first posted to increase your chances of being in the initial candidate pool. Zimmer recommends. Technology is at your fingertips, and features like LinkedIn Easy Apply reduce application time and can be done from almost anywhere, so leverage it. If you do apply late in the day or the hiring process, don't despair. Lean on referrals in these cases. That person can vouch for you and make sure that your information is seen by the hiring team, Watkins said. If you'd like to revisit this article, you can find it on the website. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you, Kelly. You'll find it on the Career DFW and Career USA websites, and we get a new career tip of the week every Saturday afternoon. All right, lunch report. Last Friday, we had 8 people join us for lunch at Mama's Pizza. We're not going to meet this Friday, but next Friday we'll try it again, but we'll go to Country Burger. So if you're interested in joining us, hopefully mark down on your calendar. Join us 12:30 p.m. next Friday, June. Let's see here. Here we go. June 25th at 12:30 at Country Burger. It's on West Parker at Independence. It's one of the 5 places we used to rotate through every week. All right, coming up in just a couple minutes, our main event, Mina Brown is with us, and she's going to talk about the one-page bio. Upcoming sessions next week. What's going on in Richardson? John Jacobs, who is the Vice President of the Richardson Economic Development Board, will be with us to tell us about what's going on in Richardson. He is a wealth of information. If you have a company that you're targeting in the Richardson area, you're looking for comments, you're looking for information about the company. Do you think they're hiring? Do you think they're not hiring? Whatever. Come up with your list and bring it with us next Friday, because it's a great presentation and he is a wealth of knowledge. He knows what's going on in the city of Richardson, Texas. On Friday, the first Friday of the month, July 2nd, we will have open forum. We'll talk about whatever it is you want to talk about. And then on Friday, July 9th, headshots. And it's sort of interesting. Our speaker today is Mina Brown. Well, she co-wrote a book called Be Sharp, which you'll see more about here in a second. And her co-writer is Paula Asinoff. And Paula will be our speaker on July 9th, all about headshots. So it's time to hear from Mina, who's our speaker today. Let's see here. She's got her mic muted and her camera turned off. Mina, are you with us?
I'm here.
There you go. Well, thank you very much for being with us. Mina's been with us several years in a
Thank
row.
you.
And for those people who ever hear my Career DFW talk, this is one of the 3 books that I always recommend. I think this is a great book because the first half of the book is all about your 30-second introduction, how to introduce yourself. But the second half of this book is all about the bio. And as far as I'm concerned, the bio, you will get more use out of the one-page bio than you get use out of a resume. And you'll hear a lot more about it here in the next hour. So Mina, thank you for being with us. I'll let you tell more people about who you are, and it's all yours. Thanks for being with us.
Thank you. I appreciate it, Jeff. And you are one of my biggest fans, and I adore you. So thank you. You do such a great job with this group. So I'm going to share my screen. I see that you've allowed me to do that. So let me pull this up right there. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
All right. Perfect. Now, Jeff, I have a chore to ask you for.
Okay.
Would you just monitor the chat box? So I love to stay up with what questions you have. I want this to be as dynamic and informative as possible, and I don't want to lose consciousness. So I will continue. I will go through this pretty quickly, but if you have a question, first of all, please just either raise your hand, which immediately puts your picture right up there with your hand raised, and I can see it and I can call on you. Number 2, put a question or comment in the chat box, and at the proper time, Jeff can just say, "Min, I have a question here." And number 3, if you don't want to have a question or something, just put comments in the chat box. Hopefully we've gotten Zoom trained enough that by the end of any Zoom call, you can save the chat box. So that is always a good compendium of little tips and helpful things. So I almost routinely do that by the end, or at least close to the end of a session. I save the chat box so I can capture some of these little nuggets and put them in a file. So
And
I am
also, oh, excuse me, Mina's also given me the a PDF version of this, which I will send out this afternoon to everybody who puts their information in the chat box. So as long as I can put you on the roster, I will send out this presentation this afternoon.
Yeah, absolutely. Because there is so much to cover. As Jeff is saying, I believe that this foundation bio is the most essential networking tool. And I know you have heard from Jeff and others in this program that applications are great. Get applications in, apply to jobs online. But guess what? Almost always you're going to get your job through somebody you know or somebody they know. So networking is essential. And this tool, a one-page bio, I call it a foundation bio because I'm going to talk at the very end about other derivatives of this. But you got to get your foundation bio done well, have it tell your story, and then you can morph it into a variety of other marketing collateral. So I really believe it's important. So a very quick introduction for myself. I started my career in accounting, so I just have to say forgive me. And those of you who are CFOs, you have all my respect. So, but then about halfway through my career, I stepped back and had an opportunity to say, what do I want to do with chapter 2? And found coaching. And I've been an executive coach now for almost 25 years. And I started my executive coaching in the world of career transition. And because I had such a 180 career transition for myself from chief financial officer, accounting, finance, operations, aerospace to coaching, I mean, who would have thunk it, right? So from that standpoint, I just feel like there's so much wisdom, and so it's so important to be successful in a career transition. I invested my first several years, and really even to today do a lot of work with people in career transition. So I have really studied it and care about it. And so I want to, and as Jeff mentioned, my co-author, Paula Asanoff, is going to be here in a couple of weeks. And this picture on this first page part of this slide, I went to the lady that she and I both adore for headshots and had her do a whole bunch of different headshots because I now have my COVID hair, which is white. And about a year and a half ago, it wasn't white, let's just say. So I had to have new headshots, and I didn't want my old headshots to look like I was trying to fake it to be younger than I am. So here I am with my new white hair. So today we're going to talk about how you use this bio in your job search and kind of how to build one. So I'm sure most of these first few slides you already know. So I'm going to kind of skip through those quickly so you can get the formula for how to build a bio. It's 4 paragraphs and that's it. But there is a nuance to it, and that's what I want to share with you today. So why do you need a bio? We've just Jeff mentioned it a minute ago. I believe for the rest of your career forever, I guess, until you're ready to sit back on the porch swing and not do anything. But if even after you retire, if you want to go into other kinds of service or be a teacher, you need to have a current up-to-date bio ready to go always, forever. So what's unique about the bio? It's your prose, it's your story. It's written in a narrative format. Your resume is data. And it should tell a story too, because your resume is still a storytelling document, but it's more specific, data driven. Here's what jobs I had from this year to this. These are the names of the companies. Here's what I accomplished, et cetera, et cetera. Here are my degrees, et cetera. And it's written bullet form, highlights, easy to skim, those kinds of things. But a bio tells your story the way you want your reader to hear it. So you have a chance to frame the conversation with the reader and potentially the recruiter, the hiring manager, or someone that you're being interviewed by. And it really should be written in a way that goes, yeah, I want to talk to that person. Oh, that's interesting. And I say here, it entices someone. It's like you want it to be a little carrot, a little bit of, I like to call it catnip. something that's going to attract you to the person who you want to read it. You've heard this, I'm sure, in Jeff's organization, in your presentations. People give resumes today about 3 to 5 seconds before they move it from one pile to another, metaphorically, because it's almost all done virtually, but they'll give it a few seconds. They'll scan it, they'll look at the highlights, they'll read it pretty quickly, and they'll make decisions pretty quickly based on their quick read of your resume. For the bio, you almost can't do it like quick read, but guess what? People more likely will read a bio. You are going to give them keywords up in the header so that you're not going to lose them completely, but they will more likely read that, particularly if you hand it to someone who you're networking with. So it has one singular purpose, and that is to sell you to somebody, to entice somebody to talk to you. And so you want to think about the Super Bowl ads, and that's the 30-second the introduction, et cetera. Your bio is a written version of what you want people to be interested in you about. And so it is the critical, in my view, the critical piece of marketing collateral in your job search. So how about, what do I do? Do I send them a resume? Do I send them a bio? When somebody says, send me your resume, here's what I would say: send them your bio too. Send them your bio and your resume, and say in your cover email or your cover letters, who does letters anymore, but in your cover email, I'm attaching my bio to give you the quick overview of my experience, et cetera, and also my detailed resume. So I don't care if they just ask for a bio, send them both. But here's a good way to remember. And I said, all of your career, you need to have a bio for internal networking, external networking. And in particular, if you're looking for a job and you're what I call unannounced, which is you haven't told the company that you're looking for a job yet. So there's a finesse to doing that, as I'm sure several of you have experienced at some time in your life. You've decided, all right, I gotta leave. I didn't get the promotion I wanted, or I just can't stand this toxic workplace. When you are unannounced, you use a bio as a really important communicating tool that doesn't just say to the whole world, I'm looking for a job. A resume, in my opinion, screams, I'm looking for a job. So it's a wonderful tool to use in that situation. Also, if you have, let's say you have some interesting elements in your resume where you may have moved from one industry to another, or you may have moved from one function to another, it allows you to connect the dots in these different disparities, perhaps, in your resume. And then finally, if it's a story that you really want to make sure, it's like you put in all bold letters and underscore and everything. You can't really do that on a resume very effectively without looking stupid. But if you want to communicate something that is really important, and you can't put it in 15-point font, you can do that in your bio in a very unique way. You can bring some color to it, or you can put some emphasis on it in your bio, in the words and the structure, etc. So just in general, here is like a chart, if you will, of resume bio. So resume, as I believe, it really does say to the world, I'm looking for a job. A bio you can use all over the place. You can use it for external, let's say, public relations. You can use it in any kind of situation, internal networking, external networking. And so it reduces the jeopardy that it's like, I'm looking for a job. It also, in the resume, it contributes, or it communicates the relevant facts and details and specific accomplishments, and lots of accomplishments, not just 3 or 4, but each job, accomplishments in each job. In the bio, you're going to cherry pick just a few that are most relevant to what you want to attract. And you can create the spin, the the nuance to those accomplishments that are really compelling to the reader. And then you can see the rest here. I'm going to go to the next slide real quickly, but the resume, I don't believe, is read very often in detail unless it's a hiring manager preparing for the interview and they're sitting right in front of them and they want to read it. But in general, getting through the first 2 or 3 levels, you need to be sure your resume is good and scannable and presented well and visually presented well. The bio is short. It's 4 paragraphs. It's easy to read. And by the way, you put a picture on your bio. You don't on your resume usually. And I know there could be some disagreement about that, but generally you definitely want to have your picture on the bio. Resume, I still believe 2 pages is good. In today's world, because you're not really printing it out, if it runs to 3, I don't think you're going to get penalty points. If you're in a really straightforward, very specific kind of job, I had a colleague not too long ago who was the only thing he's ever done in his career is he's a patent attorney. And that's, I mean, and he is like deep expert in being a patent attorney. Now, he honestly didn't need 2 pages for his resume. He could do it on 1, and then he could attach a compendium or an attachment to his resume that was a list of all the patents he'd done. But honestly, he could get away with a 1-page resume. Most people probably need more than 1. 2 is good. In today's technology, you could even go to 3 without any big penalty. Now, understand that in the United States, a resume is different from a CV. Don't get those confused, but I'm not teaching about resumes today, but a CV is usually much, much longer. They're normally used in educational opportunities, sometimes in government, et cetera. But the resume is that. In a bio, it is 1 page. It is 4 paragraphs. And I would say you space it out a little bit. Who wants to read text that's so small and has no air around it that it's just like, I mean, I'm getting older. My eyesight isn't very good. Have a reasonable size font, have a little bit of spacing. 1.15 is a setting in Word, have a little spacing in, and I don't know what 1.25 is. I think that's a typo, but a little bit larger, maybe an 11 font, and then 300 to 400 words is about right. And we're going to go through how to build it in just a second. So it is a good search tool, internal, external. It is a multi-purpose document. Like I sent, I think, Jeff, I may have sent you my bio or profile. I also have a shorter one that can go into speaking materials. And then I have an even shorter one that can be a speaker presentation one. I have 3 or 4 versions of my bio, but it started with the foundation bio. That's where it has to start. If you don't have a good foundation bio, don't get carried away and do a bunch of other stuff until you've really developed the threads and the themes that are important in your foundation bio. Sorry, I got to get my little thing out of the way. And so you can see everybody has a resume. I mean, I don't have a resume anymore. I'll tell you, because I've been in business for myself now for 25 years. I don't have a resume. When somebody asks me for a resume, I send them my bio, and I don't apologize because I'm not looking for a job, never going to have a job again. I love working for myself, but the bio I use instead of a resume. I said almost everybody has a resume, but in most cases, if you're an employee, you have a resume, period. I would say bios in today's world are more and more and more expected. Usually executives know that they have to have a bio. Senior leadership knows that they have to have a bio. Experienced professionals are beginning to do more bios. I would advocate it is worthwhile, even if you just go through the exercise of writing your bio, that gives you your themes and your story and the things that you want to emphasize. And then finally, it kind of helps you tell your story. The resume helps you organize your data, your facts, your accomplishment. The bio is about the process of telling your story. So very quickly, a picture. Picture worth 1,000 words. The resume on the left-hand side is just going to be, and obviously this isn't a real one, but it's just name, contact. This is data. your current job, you've got keywords and positioning paragraph at the top, a previous job, previous education, other credentials, and then it might have some pieces at the bottom, which might be your certifications or your community activities, etc. In your bio, it's going to be these 4 paragraphs, and it starts with your name and your headline and keywords at the top, and then a picture, and it should be a good professional headshot. Don't do any silly thing where you're wearing a tuxedo at your daughter's wedding and you've cropped out your daughter or your spouse. Don't be standing in front of the golf course with your golf clothes on. I mean, Paula's going to cover that in a few weeks, but you want to have a nice professional headshot. And that really speaks. Remember, a picture speaks 1,000 words. So you'll have your picture on it. You'll have a positioning paragraph, the most recent job paragraph, everything else, and then your credentials. And the contact information goes down at the bottom in the footer. So no matter what, whether it's resume or bio, you got to add that contact information, or how will they know how to get a hold of you, right? Now, some bios that I've read are just awful. And so I start with this because I want to say these are those little red flags, those caution flags that go, don't do this, ding, 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 ding. If it hits this, don't do it. So some bios are just boring. Make your bio reflect your personality. Let it show some insight into the kind of person you are. It's not just blip, 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 blip. It's really about who you are and what you're bringing to the table in narrative form. And if it's just data, it's not inspiring, and that's going to be boring. And I'm going to get halfway through the second paragraph and I'm going to quit reading. Some are just too long. I've read some bios. Someone sent me a bio a few months ago, and literally it was single space, tightly written, 2 pages. Well, that's just too long. You've lost the impact of a bio if it's just everything crammed into a mini series. I mean, you need to give them the executive summary, the flavor of it. This is a trailer. This is not the movie. And then some are just too short. They just go blip, 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 and there's no substance. It's like a little teeny weeny, not even an infomercial. It's not enough. You've got to create some interest by writing a good bio. And so you need to know who your audience is. You know, and I know you've talked about this in networking and in writing your resume and the bio, even more importantly. Who do you want to speak to? Who do you want to have a conversation with? Are they in this industry, that industry, at this level or that level? Do they have these functions or those functions? Make sure you are crystal clear about your target audience. And again, I'm not going to go off on a tangent here, but I will tell you, when I work with people who are in career transition, the number one failure, and it is almost, if it's not 100%, it's darn close to it. The number one failure is that they do not have a crystal clear focus for how they want to do their job search. There is this, it is counterintuitive that if I put my net out there big and wide, and I just want to gather up as many connections as I can, and I can do just about anything, and I can, bring them in. It sounds a little counterintuitive, because you'd think maybe that'd give you more opportunities to get that conversation going or to get someone interested in you. The actual truth is, it makes you less of a candidate for anything. Because if you're trying to be a jack of all trades, or trying even to be too broad in your target zone, you're going to miss the mark completely. Paul and I, in one of the books we wrote, it's the blue book, it's called Be Smart. And one of the chapters is Jack of all trades is not a job title. It is not a job title. And the more precise and specific you can be in targeting, like think about a target zone, like playing darts or archery or something. You want to have that target zone well defined, because then you're going to be a legitimate candidate for those jobs. Now, It doesn't mean that you might not consider some that are in the second round, the second ring out or the third ring out. But if you are clearly targeted, you may speak to maybe a fewer people, but you're vastly more qualified for the people you are talking to. It's like in sales, they are always looking for a qualified customer. You need to define your target zone so you are qualified candidate and focus there. Even if there's less, confetti throwing around, it is more targeted and it'll be more effective. So know what your target audience is and have it well defined. So let's talk about what goes into a basic bio. It is one page, as I've already said. It's going to have decent margins. I mean, it doesn't have to be printed out to 1/4 inch on the outside. I mean, an inch margin, normal margin. It's going to have a heading, which is, it could be your current title if you're in a job, but more likely if you're in a job search and you're either unemployed or you are announced, it'll be the definition of the job you want. Now, in a parallel, when you look at the resume, we advocate that headline is the top thing on your resume, that it says experienced chief financial officer or expert technology director or something. Like, it should have a headline that gives you a clue what you're looking for, who you are, and it gets the ball rolling. Then there would be a title or a tagline that might be experienced in consumer products and high security, whatever. So you've got a tagline, and then there's some keywords either in the and from your resume. Those keywords might be in the bullets underneath your positioning paragraph, but your keywords are going to be what are the click words that you want somebody to pay attention to. And then you'll have your professional headshot. It'll be 4 paragraphs, and each one of them should have a little bit of a wow factor. And it doesn't need to be cheesy, but I like it written in a way that is interesting to read. Don't make it so boring that it's wah, 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 wah. The first paragraph is what we talked about, your positioning paragraph. And as Jeff mentioned, you need to have that 30-second introduction ready to go. So your first paragraph is simply a narrative form of that of your introduction. And it might include a couple of extra sentences, but it should include those elements that go into your introduction. And then the second paragraph is the most recent job. It might be the one that you're in now, or it might be the most recent one. And you might include one wow accomplishment. The third paragraph is all the rest of your career. Now, that sounds kind of bizarre. It's like, you can't say everything about my career in one paragraph. Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. And we'll talk about how to do that. And then the fourth paragraph is about your credentials, your educational credentials, your certifications, particular trainings that are relevant to the job, et cetera, and then contact information in the footer. So that's kind of what the structure is. And we're going to go right into the positioning paragraph. So I just want to check with Jeff and see if there's any questions in the chat box that we may want to cover.
Not yet. Doing great.
Okay, great. Perfect. And I do talk fast. So if you need to stop me and say, slow down. Okay. Come on, move. The positioning paragraph. Now, this should be aligned with that first paragraph on your resume, where you are laying out who you are, how you bring value to the table. What is it about this person is going to make me feel like, oh my God, she's worth the investment. I'm willing to buy her. So she's really got that going on. So it's kind of what I call a prose version of that personal introduction. And you've probably covered the personal introduction, Jeff, and in some other areas, but you want to demonstrate that, in a sentence form, who you are. That's what we call the essence factor, who I am. And for me, it would be, hi, I'm in my verbal version, I'm Mina Brown. I'm an an executive coach and career consultant, and I've had my own business for over 25 years. Love working with senior executives and professionals in making career changes. So I said that in 3 sentences, but you'd craft a sentence or so about who you are, like what, and that is implicitly the job you're looking for, because if you are not the job you're looking for, then how are you going to get hired? So you have to be the job you're looking for, and that goes into your essence factor. The second factor is, what is it that you know that is unique? If I were an executive coach, and I know there are thousands and tens of thousands of other executive coaches out there, what is it that's unique for me? Well, for me, it might be that I'm a person that spent over 20 years in corporate America in finance, accounting, aerospace, and technology. So how many other executive coaches out there have that to compare to? Yeah, not really that many. So that's part of my guru factor, is what I know in corporate America and accounting, finance, technology, and those kinds of things. Now, if I were going for a CFO job, that's not a guru factor. Everybody going for a CFO job would probably have that. So if I were going for a CFO job, then what would be my guru factor? Well, it might be I have unique experience in monetary futures and working with international currencies. I'm making that up because I don't know what it would, but you would want to demonstrate there's some little uniqueness about you that is, again, fit for the job and makes you stand out as somebody who brings that little extra something, the secret sauce to what you know and that you're bringing to the job. And then the third part of your introduction is your star factor. What sets you apart? And this is where both, especially as you're describing to somebody in words in a conversation, but also in this written part of your bio, something that is like, what are you like to work with? What kind of leader are you? What kind of style do you have? What are you known for? In terms of, my colleagues would tell you that I am a important team leader for a cross-functional organization or something. You might not say that, you might not put that high up on your resume, but it is something that sets you apart in some ways from maybe others. And you have to help people experience, what would it be like if we hired you and we worked with you? Do you have a good sense of humor? Are you really a good team player? What kind of a leader are you? What kind of a collaborator are you? There's all sorts of things you want to be able to convey as what you bring to the table. And this is where I would call it some of the softer characteristics, your communication style, your leadership style, and what you're known for, those kinds of things. So I think that star factor, now we say in the personal introduction, you can have one sentence for the guru, the essence factor, one sentence for the guru factor, and 2 sentences for the star factor, because you may want to talk about not only how you are as a leader, but also what you're like as an executive or coworker or colleague. So there's some other aspects we give you a budget of 2 sentences for the star factor. So then after that personal kind of prose, then in this is all still in your positioning paragraph, you would add something that would be and I'd say the balance of the paragraph captures the rest of like, what's going on right now? Why are you the perfect candidate for this particular job? And something that would capture their interest. And it's like, I'm the kind of person who can work in the global community, helping people get back to work after COVID, or, something that is fresh, that's compelling, that will give somebody an interest to say, oh, I need to call that guy. So that's your positioning paragraph. It can be, it's, if you look at 4 paragraphs on a page, it's a little more than maybe a quarter of the page, maybe a little less. but that's just the jump starter. That's where you're getting their interest and you're jumping right in, and then you go forward. So now the next paragraph, oh, I got to get my thing out of the way. The next paragraph is the most current. It's either your current or most recent job. Now, there is an exception if the most recent job is one you don't love, you don't want to repeat, it's like, I don't want to do that again. I'm in this job now and I want to get the hell out. So there may be a way that you'll flavor that first thing. You can't ignore it, because when they look at your resume, they're going to see that you've got job XYZ. And so you may want to start with currently such and such, and don't use buts, and a part of what I love is X. And then as soon as you can, get away from it. So I don't suggest burying it, but you probably want to not put a lot of emphasis on it. But in general, the most recent job is most likely the job where you made the most money, is similar to the job you want, or is one that you want to get some attention to. So you would start that paragraph with currently as the executive coach for this kind of organization, I work with senior people and their professionals in team building. So you put a currently as, and then I really think that you want to put some nature of the business if it is not a household name. So if you work for GE or Amazon or some company like that, nobody needs you to describe what that is. But if you're working for Henry's Bakery, you may have to give a little flavor about what kind of a business it is or what it stands out to be or something about that. And what your responsibilities are. I'm in charge of all of the technology and the onboarding, whatever. And then finally, you're going to pull out just one or two. You don't need to go overboard, because in the bio, as in many things, and I'd even say this about the resume, is less is more. The more you put on there, there's a tipping point where if you just put one, not enough. That just makes it look shallow. But if you put 29, that's too many. And what you've done is watered down the most important ones. So there's a tipping point, a couple of really good aha goals and accomplishments that you have achieved in this last job should be highlighted there, but just one or two. And I do like including how you did it. So, and I agree, and this should be on your resume too. So if it says, I achieved a 200% increase in sales by, and then how did you do it? Because what they're buying is not just that accomplishment, they're buying what you bring with how you did it, so we can buy that. And then we want to just make sure that anything you put in the bio, and I will say this over and over again, that last little sub bullet must be aligned with the job you want. If you had a great accomplishment where you knocked the socks off of something, but you hope you never have to do it again, well, then don't put it in the bio. Leave it maybe on your resume, but if you want to highlight something you hope you never have to do again, you're probably going to be a candidate for something that you don't ever want to have to do again. So curate the accomplishments that you put on your resume, and then select from those the ones you want to put on your bio. So that's the second paragraph. So we're halfway through. The third paragraph is, believe it or not, everything else. Everything else. So you put previously, I led the whatever for GE. And then prior to that, I was in leadership and management positions in a variety of engineering firms. I mean, literally, you could do it in 2 sentences, maybe, but you don't have to. You've got 3 or 4 sentences that you can use, but you want to sum it all up. And again, remember your target audience, your target job, everything has to be aligned, just like straight into that bullseye. And you have to be able to articulate that, because honestly, way back in, I'm going to give my age back, when I was at Price Waterhouse in the mid 70s, that nobody's going to hire me for that. They don't care. They're going to hire me today because I want to be an executive coach. So I may not even mention that, except that there's a little bit of pedigree associated with that. So we want to highlight those, those roles, very broad brush, put them in kind of category kind of description, highlight a one or two really high impact accomplishments that are aligned with your objective, always eye on the prize, always eye on the target zone. And then show off if you've got, and this is an example of Price Waterhouse, if you have an employer who is considered in your industry or in the world as the best employer in the whole damn world, even if it was 15 years ago or 20, or like me, a few decades, you might consider sprinkling that in at the end. I started my career with Price Waterhouse. So you can name drop a little bit if that is, and that's pedigree, that gives you pedigree. The last sentence, as I said, is often just kind of a broad statement about whatever whatever I did before then, and I started here. So it's very, very simple how you can put all of your career before just the last most important one, or the last one or two most important ones can all go in that third paragraph. You smoosh it down, and make it fit. And then the last paragraph is your credentialing paragraph. So the credentialing paragraph should include your whatever degrees, educational degrees that you have. And one thing that I say, start with the most powerful, most important one. So you would start with, if you have an MBA, good heavens, a PhD, you start with that one. So I achieved my MBA in whatever, or sometimes, like for me, it was an MBA and I got it from Vanderbilt. So that's what I would put in. I've achieved my MBA from Vanderbilt, blah, blah, blah. And then you can put in your undergraduate, or you can start with your undergraduate, and maybe you have a specialty area, or you studied, even if you didn't major in technology, but you're interested in a technology job. What can you say about your bachelor's degree that has something to do with technology? In my bachelor's program at ABC University, I studied such and such. And then after you do the degrees, and you can easily do those in one or two sentences max, and you can list one in multiple sentences. Has achieved Mina, and third person, I'll come back about first and third person in a second. Mina has her MBA from Vanderbilt, an undergraduate from Eastern Kentucky University, and attended Georgetown College. So one sentence. And then also you can comfortably use shorthand in a bio. And I would say that's true in a resume: BS, BA, BBA, MBA, MS, blah, 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 all of the alphabet soup. However, there are some a little bit more, and they're not exactly obscure as much as they could be confusing. And I gave an example down there. If you have an MM degree, well, you need to probably spell out what that is, unless it is absolutely obvious, which sometimes it is. But an MM could be a master's in mathematics, a master's of music, a master of ministry, a master of management. It could be a variety of things. So you probably need to spell something out when it could be confused with other studies or other curricula. And then after your degrees, then include other credentialing things. So what are your certifications? Mina is certified in this and has received that, and publication, languages, community activities, all of that goes in that last paragraph. Now, it might be she's published a few books. He's received the award from his industry for the best new leader, whatever. It could be company awards, industry awards. various kinds of publications. It might be as a featured writer for such and such blog, and certified in project management, whatever. So the certifications come in right underneath the degrees. Now, I am very careful, and I don't want to go off on a tangent too much about community activities. You really have to be clear-headed about your target audience for putting in community activities. And I have a personal bias, so that other people disagree with me. So I just want to be clear. I do not put personal information in my bio. Some people do, some don't. And it's just that for me, I think in an interviewing situation, we try to stay away from, am I married? Do I have 3 kids? I mean, am I a grandparent? And do I love to golf? Or am I a basket weaver? We don't really, in interviewing, want to invite people to ask us, where do we go to church? Or do we have children or a family? Or do you expect to? We don't want to invite that question in an interview, and it's really not appropriate in an interview. So for lots of reasons, I believe for that primarily, we should not put those in the bio. We don't want to invite it. We shouldn't. And an interviewer shouldn't ask. And so why put it in your bio? Now, with one exception, if you are applying for a job at your local church, or if you're applying for a job with a political party, then it is appropriate for you to maybe put in an activity where you did fundraising for a political party, or you are a deacon in your church, or you're part of the leadership staff, whatever. That's appropriate. If it's job specific, then that might be appropriate. But otherwise, I would say stay the heck away from personal information like that, either in your resume, your bio, and on LinkedIn. I just don't think it belongs there. All right. And then I can answer questions in a minute. So that's the 4 paragraphs. So this is one of the world's awful slides because you can't read the whole thing. Jeff, did you have a comment?
No, I'm just getting ready.
Oh, okay. Yeah, good. Yeah. Thanks. I kind of monitor when the mute or unmute goes off. So this is just a quick visual of what a good looking bio would look like. It's got, let me put my little marker up here. Hang on. Give it to me. Laser. All right. So it's got right up here, you've got your name. And then if you want to put CPA or MB or CCMC or whatever, you can put them up there. Be very conscientious about and very deliberate about what you put there. His title right here and the company. So this guy on this bio is employed by a company. And if you weren't, you would put your headline being corporate control, a corporate controller, and then you might just put aerospace engineering underneath, just a general category, or oil and gas, or consumer products underneath it if you didn't actually have a company to put here. Then you put your keywords, which he wants to call attention to: global manufacturing strategy, risk management, and then in small subtext, mergers and acquisitions and technology oversight. So these are your like double click words. You know, these are the things you really want to highlight for somebody to grab their attention, because they'll start by scanning. And then you've got your first paragraph, which is your positioning paragraph. Second one, his current job. Third one, all of his prior jobs. And last one, his credentials. If you speak multiple languages, by the way, put it down there in your credentials. And if you speak multiple languages in these days, I would say put it up in one of your headlines or your subheadings: fluent in, blah, blah, blah. And so you want to be able to call out distinctions for what you do. Okay, and I think I've already covered this, so we'll move on so we have time to wrap up. So faith-based or political organizations, not unless it's particular to the job. Readers just have a lot of unconscious biases, some conscious, but some unconscious, and you don't want somebody to stumble across something where you're not even intending to trigger their bias because you have no idea who it is. So just, I think it's really, you want to be very judicious in putting anything like that in your bio or on your profile or on your resume. I think also the same thing with interests and hobbies. If you like to golf, if you like to, I would stay away from those unless you were the Masters champion of XYZ in 2018. So fairly current. It shows a commitment to excellence. If you've got a real name in a hobby or sport, then that shows your dedication to excellence. But if it's just, this is what I like to do on the weekends, don't do that. And then any kind of personal tidbits, just stay away from them unless you feel like it's valuable. Now, I want to talk in our last few minutes about how this morphs. First thing you have to do, build this foundation bio, those 4 paragraphs, your key words, make sure it aligns to your target audience and your target job. Foundation bio. Don't do anything else until you get your foundation bio done. Now, there's so many derivatives, though. Now that you've got this core of your story told, and edit the heck out of it. Edit it, make it interesting, get people to listen to it or read it. What can I add that could make it more compelling? Really brainstorm with people who know you well and say, well, you left out this, or what if you added that? Make this a prose that is really captivating. And you can do that. Just be brave, be creative. And so from your foundation bio, you can create something like an executive profile. And I'll show you a copy of mine just in a minute, but it can be a synthesis even of your bio. It might be something that would be shared internally on a company's internal website, or it might be something that you would use in an organization. Like if you're a member of a certain organization, you may not want to use your full foundation bio, but you need to go into the directory and put in and about me. You might put in some kind of a profile like that. Absolutely. The next thing you really have to do, and this is just a no-brainer, take the essence of your foundation bio and drop it into the about section on your LinkedIn profile. Now, they change up the order and all sorts of things on the LinkedIn profile from time to time. Now you have a lot of flexibility. You can move sections around. You can make it bigger or smaller. There's lots of things you can do to create a really compelling LinkedIn profile. But for sure, when you've written your foundation bio and you have a really good one, then what the heck? That should be on your LinkedIn profile in your about section. Now, I was going to come back to the third person versus first person. Your bio should be written in third person. Mina did this. Mina accomplished that. She did this. That's in third person. So you're writing the bio not in first person, but you're writing it third person, as if someone is telling your story for you on your LinkedIn profile. And I changed my mind on this about 5 or 6 years ago. I had always felt for many, many years that it should be consistent, third person, Mina this, Mina that. But I decided several years ago that the engagement on LinkedIn has changed. And I think the profile is better written in first person now. It's more engaging. It is, you're coming to my page. They're not expecting you to read something that's in third person. Well, she did this. You're coming to my page. So I today think we should write our about section in first person. I am this person. I did this thing. I accomplished. So put it back in first person. That's the only difference between the foundation bio and the LinkedIn profile. You might make the LinkedIn profile a little jazzier. You can put some bullets in. It doesn't need to be just one page with 4 paragraphs. It can be a little bit longer, but you don't want to get too carried away because then nobody will read it. Remember, we all have short attention spans these days. And then if you have a personal website, a lot of people use their LinkedIn profile as their personal website. But if you do, if you offer some services or if you've created one, I think there's a lot of movement out there. People say, oh, if you're looking for a job, you should create your own website. And there are some pros and cons to that. But if you did create your own website for, as it wouldn't be a substitute for a resume, but an augmentation of your resume where you could maybe add examples of projects, or particularly if you're a creative professional may want to put in a personal website, some samples of their designs or their portfolio. So that is really appropriate to have a separate website. But if you do that, then this foundation bio goes right on the About tab on your personal web page. Business proposals. If you're out there, and I do think that if you're looking for a job, it is exactly the same process to look for a job as it is to look for a contracting gig. So if you're looking for work and you're willing to take a short-term contract, and you are looking for, I'd love to get let me come in and I call it try and buy. Come in and let me show you, let me work on this project for you. And I'll tell you what, I'll give you 3 months. I'll work this and I'll fix this and I'll deliver that. And then once you experience what WIDA can do, maybe we'll talk about what happens after that. Maybe you'll renew the contract, maybe you'll hire me full time, or maybe I won't even like you and I don't even want to do it. So I think a contracting opportunity is really smart when you're looking for a job, and it's the same process as looking for a job. Is to say, listen, how about if I give you a contract proposal and let me come do some work for you? So your bio, guess what, goes into the proposal, because right at the end of the proposal, you'll say basically a paragraph, why me? And that's your foundation bio. Sorry. Board bio. If any of you are even considering maybe being considered for a board, or maybe even a nonprofit board or something like that, those are wonderful credentials. It's a way to give back, and they need a bio. I'm going to go through these last few pretty quickly. A PowerPoint, if you're doing a presentation. I had a client just last week is applying for several jobs, and 3 of the jobs he's applying for have a project associated with them, so that he has to do an analytical piece of work, come up with a proposal, a recommendation for what to do, and he has to present it to a panel. So in that, I would say he would also toward the end put in a PowerPoint just with some bullets about himself, and that can come straight out of the foundation bio. If you're speaking, boy, one of the best ways to get visibility is to go talk to people. Go offer, volunteer to do a presentation on that topic that you're an expert about. If you're doing that, you need a little bitty short bio that the host or the sponsor can introduce you with. So you take that from your foundation bio. It would be the same thing in a seminar brochure. That's where you'd use a little bit bigger piece. And then finally, if you're in a business like I am, you have to have a bio. People are buying you. And so if somebody is going to hire me to do some coaching, they buy me. And so that bio has to tell them, why would I be good for you? So I just dropped in a couple of examples. This is my web page, and I couldn't get those little pencil marks out of there, because if it's my web page, it has an edit to it. So it's like, okay, you guys get it. And so just and I had to take out, there's a little dashboard that they have now that I had to cut that out. And just because you want your name, my name, Mina Brown, MCC, which is Master Certified Coach, Executive Coach, Author. I have my subtitle, and then I have about, and then that's where your little professional, your foundation bio goes. And then I have this executive profile, which is sort of my marketing tear sheet, if you will. This is who I am. And I've included this section all foundation bio right there. And I've elaborated a little bit, so it's not exactly 4 paragraphs, but I'll tell you what, it follows that theme. And then I've put some highlights up at the top, and I put some customer quotes to the left. It's got a picture on it, it's got a headline, and it's like all right there. So you can create something like that from your foundation bio, which is a really wonderful tool, especially if you want to start your own business or you want to go into a service business or do something like that. So that's the end of it, Jeff. And I want to see if there are any questions. The 2 books I referred to, Jeff mentioned the first one, which is Be Sharp. This is the 2nd edition. It is the first section is how to introduce yourself. And it elaborates on the essence factor, star factor, and guru factor, and gives you worksheets on how to fill those out and how to put it together and how to blend your introduction. And then the second half of the book, as Jeff mentioned, is about professional bios, and then additional elaboration on how to use the foundation bio to create some of those other bios we talked about. And then the second book that Paula and I both wrote together is a series of essays about careers, how to navigate a career, build a vision, how to adapt, how to do networking. There's a whole section on networking, a whole section on interviewing. And then the final section is how to talk about money. I mean, isn't that always a little tricky? And so I won't go through these. This is just a description of the 2 books. Planning, which is visioning, marketing, visibility, sales, and money. So I think we're in good time, Jeff. What do you think?
Yes, great shape. A couple questions. I really haven't seen anything in the chat box, but questions I have.
Okay.
Is sometimes I see profiles that have 2 columns. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, and are they profiles or bios?
Well, I consider it a bio.
Yeah. And see, if you go back to I have and I guess I would wonder what's the difference between what's in the 2 columns is a good way to ask.
I don't know. I mean, I'm just saying sometimes I see people who promote a 2-column
Yeah.
method.
So let me go to this one. See, this is 2 columns. And so what I have in the right-hand column is the bio. It is just, it's written in 3rd person. If you could read this, because it's too small to read, it's written in 3rd person. At the top, I've got my bullets, and on the left, I've got customer quotes. Now, if it's in 2 columns and it's all just the same, it's like it just is running like a newspaper. It's the same article, but it's running in 2 columns. There may be a theory that because we do read quicker in smaller segments, a speed reader likes a more narrow column. So it could be that the theory is you would read it faster if it's in 2 columns. To me, that would feel confusing. And I would say, I'd specifically just say, what's the purpose of the 2 columns? If there is a clear purpose where you want to differentiate maybe accomplishments or like a creative portfolio kind of thing, might be lawsuits that you've won or something like that, then I can see it called out in a separate column. But if it's just a 2-column narrative, you're losing space, because that space is going to be around the columns. I would go to 1 column and not lose the extra space.
Okay. Second question I have, and I have this debate all the time with other speakers, both in LinkedIn who talk about LinkedIn and people just, about people who do mention the bio, is which way should you be facing? So if your picture's in the upper left-hand corner and your shoulders are facing away, you're looking out of the rest of the information is not where you're at.
Right. And that's really, and Paula and I had this conversation a lot too. In general, the guidance would be if you're facing to the right, and I may not be saying this wrong, you should be facing into the document. So depending on where your head is and where your shoulders are, you should be facing into the document. And you just flip the words to the other side. So if you're on this side, and that sample I had up earlier, he was facing this way so that words were on this side. But if I had a different picture, then it'd be facing. Now, right in front of you on this slide is a little bit of an exception to that. right? So my shoulders are tipped a little bit away from the words, but I'm leaning into the words. So I chose to do it this way because I'm not looking the other way. I'm looking straight ahead, but my shoulders are this way, but I'm leaning into the words. So I think this positioning was best for me, but it is like, how do you lean into the content, not away from? Yeah, good question.
Well,
Michael, I see you have your hand up.
Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
I mean, I've seen you present in Jeff's space more than once.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, I've read your bio. It's super impressive. I started my career at Arthur Anderson, and I'm in transition and looking at the possibility of making a change similar to what you did, I guess, in ways. But the one question I had, I can't read your bio as it appears here, but it
Right.
looks like it is overflowing with information. How do we know when we have too much? Because, given the fact that people don't like to stop and read a lot.
Right. Thank you, Michael. That is a really good question. And Jeff, I don't know if I sent you this, Jeff, but I can forward it if you want to share it with people. But I think the key, Michael, is first of all, use the space wisely. So if I were just doing a simple bio, at least half of this information would not be on there. Because this is my business marketing tool. So it's really, it's like it's an ad for my company. So first of all, you put just the narrative and a few bullets. Secondly, by using the space differentially, then if people want to read, they'll just read the bio piece. But I've also given them the 1, 2, 3, 4, the 5 bullets at the top so that they can just read those 5 bullets. The left-hand margin, if they just want to hear what a client said, they can just listen, they can look at Mina as an executive coach, blah, blah, blah. So those are like my testimonies. And then at the very top, I just put my headlines, which should always be there. So I would say this is pretty maximum use of the white page. And the differential in terms of the way the boxes are laid out gives you the ability to read it or scan it pretty quickly. Does that make sense, Michael?
Yeah, so would one of the possibilities be to have this, like Jeff talks about, and I've always had a master resume that has everything I've ever done on it, and I pick from that to create the resume I use in specific situations. Is this the same kind of scenario where we have one similar to yours, chock full of lots of stuff, but then we also have a lesser, a not watered down, but a version that is less intimidating from a
Well, so specifically mine is just a bio. It is not a resume. There is so much data that would be on a resume that is not here.
Okay,
my resume it would look radically different. What were you going to say, Michael?
So I'm not comparing the two. What I'm saying is Jeff's proposal is you have this master resume and you use that as a source for the one that you put together at the present time.
Right.
Do we have a similar situation here where you have a resume that has a ton of stuff there? Would it be a good idea to also have a bio that is a little bit less information?
And so I think there's a lot of opportunity maybe, but here's the thing I would say is challenging. 2 dimensions. One is know thyself, know the job you want, know who's your target market, know where you're headed. And if you are crystal clear about that, now, if your target market is the big as the ocean, then yeah, you need about 15 different resumes. But if your target market is well-defined and well-focused, you will have to do minimal shifting and cutting and pasting and moving and building, et cetera. So that one is be really focused and don't try to be a master of all, jack of all trades, master of none. Secondly, your bio should be well crafted, not boring. It's a lovely prose. It's interesting. It's not just cut and paste. It should flow well. It should read well. Now, do you really think that you could cut and paste things and pull it together efficiently and have it sound and fit together as a very nice prose? The challenge would be if you start messing around with paragraphs, do you lose some of the art to it? So I think that would be challenging. Write the bio broadly enough that you could use it in multiple ways. Highlight some generic things that you're really good at. I wouldn't be mixing up my bio very much.
Yeah, I think your bio, you don't have a master bio. You have, your bio tells somebody, this is what I want to do. This is what I like to do. This is how I can help you. And whatever that is. Now, if you don't know what it is you want to do when you grow up, that's a different issue. That's a different seminar.
Right. And absolutely, that focus, number one, the number one deficiency for people who are transitioning or changing is that they haven't spent enough time with somebody or with themselves or with their research or in small groups, figuring out what they want to do. And that is step number one before you do anything. I'll read you the first, if I can read it, the first sentence on this profile, which is a function of my foundation, is few professional coaches have the depth of executive leadership experience, masterful coaching reputation, and all-around credentials and positive impact as Mina Brown.
Right. Tells somebody what
That's
you
me.
are. Tells you what you are.
And
All right,
so
well, Mina,
I know we're out of time. So thank you.
Right. Oh, I was just going to throw out one more comment. I happen to know somebody on the bottom of their resume, and I don't know if they had a bio, but the very last line they had on their resume, and nobody here can do this, okay? But I just want to sort of throw this out. The very last line said, in search of the perfect hamburger. And he said during his job search, he had more people call up just trying to talk about where they found the perfect hamburger at. The whole discussion about what he did was something totally different, but that line, he said, got him more comments. So, in search of the perfect taco, in search of the perfect chocolate milkshake, whatever it is, you may want to throw that at the bottom of your resume, just because.
And that is an example of catnip. That is an example of you want to talk to me. Right. I mean, of course you do. And by the way, even if they weren't going to hire you for a job, guess what? It's another networking contact. And so getting more names, not just superficial collecting business cards, but having more dialogue is always a positive. And then you go from there. So I kind of love that. I don't think there's any real hard and fast rules today. It is about how do you break through the noise? How do you build the vision? How do you get somebody to be interested in you? And so I think that's kind of clever. Now, if I were doing that on my resume, I might find some way to graphically separate it, because it does, if it were just printed in black and white, regular type and right at the bottom, first of all, people are going to miss it. And secondly, I'd probably either put it in a different font or put it in a little box or something just to catch their eye, just to put that bait out there and say, hey, you want to come talk to me, don't you?
Right. Well, Mina, thank you very much.
Thank you, Jeff. Thank you.
Like I said, this is one of the 3 books that I recommend every job seeker have. You will not be disappointed in it. You can get it on Amazon. If you have Kindle, you can download it on Kindle. In fact, if you have Amazon Prime, I think some people have been getting it for free off of Amazon Prime if you have the Kindle app and stuff. So definitely take a look at it. In the back of the book, there's 20 or 30 different bio samples of different people and all the details about everything that Mina talked about. So Mina, thank you very much. I know you have a national conference that you stepped away from to join us today. So Thank you very much for your time. All right, next Friday, our speaker is John Jacobs. He's the Executive Vice President of the Richardson Chamber of Commerce. He's going to talk about what's going on in Richardson, Texas. As I mentioned earlier, if you have any questions about any company that's based in Richardson, he knows about it. So you're welcome to, bring those questions and answer that kind of stuff, or ask those things. Would be really, really good. If you have not yet put in your 30-second introductions in the chat box, please do so. I will copy all that information and I will get that out to everybody's email this afternoon, along with a copy of the presentation from Mina. So please put that in. For those people on Facebook, I will be sure to delete your personal information so it won't be out there as soon as we get done with this meeting. Join Career DFW and Career USA each week. We're putting on training sessions 5 days a week. Coming up today at 1 o'clock, if you're a woman, you have wisdom, want some wisdom, we have a group called WOW Women of Wisdom. It is by invitation only. You do need to send an email to wow@careerdfw.org. We meet the first and third Friday of each month. Next Monday, our topic for Networking Mondays will be Networking 101. On Tuesday, LinkedIn search engine optimization. We do a LinkedIn presentation every Tuesday. Every Wednesday, we talk about interviewing, asking questions, session number 8, asking questions during the interview. And then next Thursday, effective resume tips and tricks. Join us again next Thursday. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll take a couple hours before it gets up on YouTube, but it will be up there later this afternoon. Please follow us on Facebook. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more people who follow us, the more people who subscribe, the more options we get to do in the background, which helps us with the 2 pages. On the Career USA YouTube channel, it is the Career USA YouTube channel. Be sure to click on playlist, and then don't click on the video. I do this all the time, but click down where you see the red arrow where it says view full playlist, and up will come then a list of all the different speakers we've had in the past, along with the title of their talk, and it is in date order. So if the dates are backwards, just click on the sort button and you'll get the newest one that has been listed on there. Thank you very much for joining us today, everybody. Have a great weekend. Don't melt in the heat, and we will see you all one day next week. Thank you again, Mina.
Thanks, Jeff. Thanks, Mina. Have a nice weekend. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, happy Father's Day to you guys. I dropped my professional bio